Hello and welcome to Longship Gaming. Something a little different today. Thinking this is going to be a semi-regular series. Along with all the solo card games that I play, I also paint miniatures. And over the past year, I've been painting up the first Kickstarter set for a game called Super Fantasy Brawl, shown here. So these aren't mine. These are part of a commission I'm doing with my friend Kevin. And I finally got them all done. And I really enjoyed painting them. And I thought that maybe having a little showcase here just to both show off my work and to remind myself that I actually painted these when they eventually leave my home and go off to their rightful owner. One day I'd actually like to, when I have a proper setup, I'd like to have to actually play this game on the channel. It's quite fun. But I did have a blast even just painting up these models, even though, as I said, I'll be sort of sad to see them go. However, there's going to be another 9 coming my way to paint as a further commission, so at least I'll get to enjoy them going on in the future. So just a quick showcase of what I did. They're painted primarily with a mixture of Privateer Press, Vallejo, and Army Painter paints. Took, as I said, about a year to complete them, just because I was working on other projects as well, like my Marvel Crisis Protocol. That stuff I'll probably show off in batches going forward as well. I've pulled out the, not that I'm going to play the game right now, but I pulled out the cards just to remind myself of the names of the characters. But I just want to kind of highlight a few of them here, some of the techniques I may have used on them, and which ones were my faves, which ones turned out better than I thought, and which ones I'm still kind of cool on. So, Gore Ash here, let's see if we can focus on him. He was the first one that I painted for this set. And I was trying to do different things with the skin tone, like a brown skin tone, and really pushing the highlights on his muscles. I think it worked out pretty well. I think, looking back on it, I would probably do a little more on his skirts to make those pop a little, but no, overall for the first one, using different techniques than I usually do, I was quite happy with the way that the Gore Ash turned out. So he was sort of like the proof of concept to be able to paint these large, lovely, chunky figures, which, as you get older and your eyesight starts to go, these big chunky boys are a lot easier to paint. Also, I was paying more attention to how shadows work on muscles and so on by looking at a couple of guides online to try and make them a little more realistic from top down. So yeah, I spent a lot of time in the skin on this one, and he was the first of many to get done. So that's Corvash. Goldar here, this fun pirate guy. Let's get focused. There we go. Pretty simple. Very simple, actually. Color scheme, not too many of them. The pale skin was a bit of a challenge in getting the beard to look right. I think with this one was when I started, actually I may have started using this with Goldar, but here's a tip for any aspiring or current painters out there. If you haven't used, let me see if I can find one here. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so I was turned onto this by Vince Ventrilla. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Who's a noted painter on YouTube. The acrylic metal color airbrush colors, these are fantastic. They are worth their weight in, well, I guess metal colors. They go on with generally with a single coat. They are amazing. Their silver is very, very, very smooth. You get a lot of mileage out of using a small amount of this, and it takes shading very, very well. I cannot recommend these highly enough. So if you're painting with real metallic, with actual metallics, these are just utterly brilliant. So, moving on from that. Oh, now I'm completely forgetting this character's name. I have to go looking. So, talking about Corvash. Oh, there we go. Gwian. She's a wizard type, fire and lightning type wizard. in the game. I think she's an elf, pointy ears. Oh, come on, focus up. Come on, there we go. Yeah, some kind of elf. I was really happy with the way that her flame and her lightning effects turned out on this one. A very rich blue for her cape. Actually, I think I may have not used the Vallejo gold toner mix for this one. I think I just used an army painter one, so it's a little brassier than other golds. Really happy with the way that her hair turned out, though. Yeah, overall, pretty pleased. And one of the simpler and smaller figures in the set. Wrath was one of the one of the last ones I did. This mole man here. I think I remember his name. Wrath. Yep, there he is. Wrath is also pretty simple. He's mostly all earth tones, you know, but I wanted to go like I know the official paint job for him was a lighter tone for the pink, but I really wanted to drive up the pinks through like the magentas and so on to really, come on, focus up there. There we go. Yeah, some metallics, some browns for all the like the leather of his coat, and the dark gray to white spikes he has coming out everywhere. So yeah, overall pretty simple, but I was pretty happy with the way he turned out. I think one of my faves of the whole set, though, for a stockier character, and a guy got to look up his name. I forget it again. Dugrin. That's a very dwarvy name. This ice dwarf guy here. Let's get it to focus. Come on, you can do it. Ugh, perhaps because he's too small. There we go. Okay. So Dugrin was a real blast. The combination of the metallics, that nice, all those ice crystals or ice flame or something coming off his shield. He's a very compact figure, so he's a bit of a challenge in that sense. But I think I made enough of his features pop for what is essentially a very simple, cool color palette. Another one of my favorites, I think I spent a lot of time on, is Merouge, who's some kind of like vampire werewolf guy. There he is. I love the way that his fur turned out. Kind of blows out the highlights here, but there's a good amount of contrast on his features. Yeah, it's a little blown out, but had a lot of fun with him. A lot of fun getting the bone color right on it that covers his armor with the silver underneath. That rich red cloak, and doing some layering work to get the heat of his sword to look right. Yeah, one of my favorite out of the 15 for sure. Darren, this little hunter character. Come on. Again, we're having trouble focusing on her because she is so tiny comparatively to the other ones. There, we have to leave her down here, I think. Not one of my favorite ones. I guess because she's got a very sort of compressed pose. I really had to push the color on her leggings to not just be sort of a morass of like brown tones, and sort of the blue of the fur of her coat sort of like blends in there. The bright red hair was good, but yeah, the smaller ones, you know, these are board game pieces, so they don't have tremendous detail. But yeah, not really one of my favorite ones. I was glad to be done with her. Salka was another one I painted early, and I was not anticipating, or I was not looking forward to tackling her. And let's see if I can get it focused in the right spot. And let's go from there. But she has these yellow diamonds on her kimono that are supposed to be on here on a spread pattern. And then there's the freehand on her her charms and on the masks. So she became, I don't do a lot of freehand, so this one was a bit of a challenge. Otherwise, she was relatively simple to do. I like the pose. I like the colors turned out really well, the pinks and the yellows. So no, it was about, you know, in the middle of the pack for enjoyment. Now, okay, now I'm going to screw his name up, so. It is Suzhou. Suzhou is this Tiger Man. Great fun to paint this guy. Getting the gradations on the green of his, oh, that picks up really well there. The green on his swords was a lot of fun. Getting just the right sort of orange tone, and then freehanding the his stripes was a bit of a challenge to make sure to try and get they're even. I wanted to blend more, but looking at actual tiger stripes, they are supposed to stand out more, and then fading from, you know, orange to white to black on his hair, on his ponytail there was quite a challenge to get that right. So now this guy, I really enjoyed him. His sort of turquoisey sash really makes the character pop against that rich red robe on his back. So for these, I tried to stick as close as I could to the studio scheme. But I did stray here and there just because personal choice. I thought some of them just looked a little better. Lorelai, some kind of octopus woman. I don't know. Very small form, not a ton of different colors. Getting her to stand out from the very brightly colored green plant serpent thing she's standing on was a bit of a challenge, because she is a duller tone, but I think she stands out from it enough. She was surprisingly more fun to paint than I expected her to be. In terms of techniques, it was a lot of use. Some of them I would use dry brushing. Like, it's kind of obvious that I did that for the plant snake that she's on and for her skin tone. Other ones I spent more time doing layering on. It depended on the large surfaces and how much time I thought it was going to take to work on those. And just had to make the call. And I think for the most part, it turned out pretty well. The one that I certainly was not a big fan of, or I was not looking forward to doing was Aquette. So let's see if I can get him to really focus in there. Okay, there we go. So Aquette is this like phoenix bird warrior guy. I knew that I would have to really work at the transitions, which is something I don't typically do that much. Going from this mid-band of bright yellow up the middle of the wings, but fading in towards the center, towards red and orange, and then back out through orange to deep red on the edges of the wings. By happy accident, the technique I use is just layering, going from top to bottom, allowed there to be that band of that base orange that I had painted many layers of, to create like a separation between the feathers. And I think it turned out way better than I expected it to. And I used a Vallejo metal copper for the armor pieces. And I think it really works overall with this character. I was very pleased with how this guy turned out. Again, slight differences from the studio scheme, but close enough. One of the last ones that I did was Nevermore. This, I guess, like sea ghost guy? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. He's got these lanterns, but he's got all these Cthulhu-esque tendrils coming down the back of his robe. This one, yeah, I'm not 100% with the color choices. It is, I tried to mimic as best I could the look of the studio scheme. but I ended up having to sort of go my own way with this one. I think it turned out fine. I like the pose and everything. I'm not 100% keen on the final color scheme. I think maybe if those feathers were a little darker, but then again, they wouldn't necessarily pop against the very dark blue of the cape. You know, with a base coat of my favorite privateer press paint, coal black. One of the best things that they make. I haven't found a replacement for that quite yet. If you know of a good replacement for coal black with better coverage, let me know in the comments below. Kilgore, this guy was a hoot to paint, actually. I was kind of worried when I was first working on him. The black armor, trying to highlight that properly. I just went black and then highlighted it up with very carefully with some dry brushed grays. But he's got a lot of metallics on him. A lot of metallics. So I had to use a certain kind of blend using some Green Stuff World pigments in with the Vallejo Gold. The Vallejo Gold is very pale, almost silvery on its own. So to get it to really pop out with a goldish color, you do actually need to mix in some pigment. Not the right one, it turns out I need a different one, but I think for all intents and purposes it differentiates them enough from the other golds from some of the other characters. Yeah, again, for the skin, much like on the first guy I did there, spent a lot of time trying to get the highlights right for him. And put some, the studio has his nose being sort of like a pinkish color. So I did that for his knees, elbows, his nose, and his ears just to break it up a bit. But he was great. I really enjoyed painting this guy. It's probably one of the chunkiest one out of all of them. Coloclaw? Is that the name? Yes, it is Coloclaw. Coloclaw was one that I wasn't 100% looking forward to either, just because of the riot of colors that she and her mount is. Yeah, but I'm really happy with the rich purple. How the gold armor pops. Getting the feathers on the mount and our headdress just for like a lot of painstaking manual work to draw the lines. So yeah, again, because she's so tiny, they really had to push the highlights just to make her stand out, because the mount is such a large, overwhelming chunk of her model. And then the last one I did was Taze, and Taze is probably the simplest out of all of them to do, other than his skin tone, which was really just going to be the base tone of the primer I used. I always use a gray, or when I always use a gray. Used to do Army Painter, but I found that their sprays are starting to become glossier and glossier, and I'm less pleased with how they turn out. Oh, there we go. There's a nice focus shot of them there. But almost entirely the copper color for his armor, and a lighter brown for the fur. He was, and then a steel color for his maces and the chains. Yeah, very simple color scheme, but I was able to knock him out very quickly, like in a couple of days. But I could probably do that with most figures if I just spent enough time on them. I can't remember who took me the longest. Probably Aquette over here. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little look at these models. I'm going to do more of these with a little more technical detail, maybe on some of the MCP models that I paint, or ones for board games that I might get around to doing. And maybe one day, hopefully, when the new studio is set up, an actual 2-player game of Super Fantasy Brawl. So thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Longship Gaming. Thank you so much for watching Longship Gaming. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It will really help the channel to grow and improve. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when more Longship gaming content goes live. Until next time, happy gaming.